This episode is brought to you by Hasa. Liquid is clearly better. Liquid chlorine is the highest purity, works immediately, has no added cyanuric acid or calcium, and it will leave your pool safe, clean, and clear. And by the Bottom Feeder professional grade battery powered vacuum system. It sucks to clean pools, so cleaning pools sucks less. Get $100 off with code DVB100.
This episode is brought to you by Skimmer, the #1 pool service software in North America. With Skimmer, you can streamline your schedule, grow your revenue, and keep your customers coming back with 5-star service. Whether you're a one-person operation or an established team, Skimmer is your partner in success. Visit getskimmer.com/poolguy to try Skimmer for free for 30 days.
The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show.
Hi, welcome to the Pool Guy Podcast Show. In this episode, I'm going to tell you when to walk away from a green pool bid, some things to look at when you're doing green pool cleanups, and the #1 reason why you want to do green pool cleanups. And this should be a hard and fast rule that you stick to in your pool service business to make it grow. Are you a pool service pro looking to take your business to the next level? Join the Pool Guy Coaching Program. Get expert advice, business tips, exclusive content, and get direct support. For me, I'm a 35-year veteran in the industry. Whether you're starting out or scaling up, I've got the tools to help you succeed. Learn more at swimmingpoollearning.com. This probably will be applicable to everything you're doing out there in the field as you're maybe starting out, or if you're trying to expand your services. Maybe you want to do new things and bring new services on for your service. One of the things that you have to be aware of is you have to really analyze everything, not in detail, of course, but you have to kind of have your thinking cap on when you're approaching things and situations so that you don't get burned and you don't do something that you're going to regret later as far as taking on a job that you shouldn't have taken on. All this starts at the very beginning when you first arrive at the site, at the bid. And I'm focused on the green pool cleanups because this is something that you're going to run into a lot, and it's a great way to expand your business if done correctly. The first thing I do when I get a phone call or a message about a green pool is I'll ask this question. And it's a question that they should answer pretty easily and simply. I'll just say something like, so what happened to the pool? Why did it turn green? And sometimes you're going to get these answers like, I don't know, I've been struggling with it. I don't know what exactly happened. It's just green. Okay, that's okay. That's a fair response because people do try to return their green pool to blue all the time and fail at it because there is, a little bit of skill involved. Someone may say, I bought this house and this is how it was when I bought it. Good. Another good one. If someone says something like, well, the pool is green ever since, the pool guy stopped showing up 3 weeks ago and now the pool turned green. That may be a little bit of a red flag there. Why did the pool service provider stop? Were they paying the bill? Were they not paying? Was he not, was he a flake? So you have to go in first off of why the pool is green. And that's your first indicator of if you want to, you can go out there and look at the pool. Like that last one, I may not even go out and look at that pool at that point. I may ask some more further questions to clarify what happened to the pool service provider. But the first two, obviously, someone struggled to try to turn it back to keep it blue and it turned green, or someone bought a house and they're trying to turn the pool back from green to blue, then that's perfectly acceptable. The next thing you want to do is, of course, visit the pool and see what's going on there. Now, this is something that I talk about all the time is when you pull up to the house, you'll get an idea if it's just maybe owner neglect or if the whole property is being neglected. And that may be a big red flag there. You get to the house and there's, you're driving down the street, everyone's lawns look perfect. And you get to this house and the whole front yard is weeds, a foot high. And the paint's peeling off the trim. The gate's broken going to the backyard. The grass back there is knee high. And you get to the pool and it's green. That may be an indicator that this person is not someone you want to work with. And I'm going to kind of go a little forward here in this podcast, and I mentioned that there's only one reason why you're really doing these green pool cleanups, or there should be one primary reason, and you're doing these green pool cleanups to land new clients. If you're just doing them for the money, I suppose that's okay, but really the green pool cleanups take a lot of time and effort. They are something that's really involved, and it is something that you're expounding a lot of energy and time that you could be putting elsewhere. And so the end result shouldn't just be a paycheck and, see you later. It should be, I can clean up this green pool. Are you willing to come on for service so that this doesn't happen again? And I can definitely guarantee that I can maintain it, keep it blue. Here's my service rates. If they say yes, they want service going forward because they can't handle the pool, even if they go for something like a, tiered service like chemicals, skimming, and brushing, that's perfectly fine if they can't afford a full service. I wouldn't do chemical only on a customer like this because there's a little bit of neglect going on here when the pool's that green for whatever reason. But primarily you are taking on these green pools because you're trying to get that service account and build up your pool route to the point where you have, 90 pools and you don't need to do green pool cleanups anymore. You're pretty set. Eventually you're going to stop doing these cleanups and acid washes if you get big enough with service and you don't want to do these extra work to get accounts, because all this extra work should be leading to accounts for yourself. And if you're pretty established, then you can of course not do these anymore. But while you're doing them, you have to be aware or situationally aware of a lot of factors. You also have to be aware of, okay, if they're going to come on to service and I'm going to take care of this pool, what do I not like about this pool at this point? Yes, it's green, I don't like that. But what else about this pool would be a problem for them being a future client? If there's trees all around the pool and that's going to be a heavy debris pool, that may be an indicator that you don't want to even do this job, because bringing this client on wouldn't be that great because the pool isn't that great to begin with. It may be also that the pool is too big for your service. You may just do smaller pools and the pool is 25,000 gallons. So you have to also consider if you really want this account to begin with, because once you get it back to blue, you bring it on service, you have to deal with this pool. It may be that the equipment is really old and kind of functioning, but you're thinking that they definitely need new equipment. And sometimes customers are willing to upgrade equipment, sometimes not. And you also have to think about the future issues with the green pool cleanup. They may have black algae problems. It may have continuous algae problems. It may have some issues that maybe a drain and an acid wash will eventually cure in the future. But at this point, all these variables and all these future aspects of this pool should be considered before you even start cleaning up the pool. And so how do you get out of it if you get to the job site and you see the pool and you're like, I just don't really want this account. Even if I clean this pool up, I don't want it. I'll tell you a funny story real quick, is that, my area is an area where we have too many pools and not enough pool pros to do them. And I had this pool from a friend. It wasn't in my service area. I can't remember where it was. I think it was West Covina or something out of my area. And they sent me a picture of this pool and it was kind of green. And I sent it to a bunch of people that I know in that area. And I'm like, here's the pool if you want it. It wasn't that green. And if you can, they want service. And I can tell you, like, two of the people were like, well, I don't like that side of the pool right there because it's right up against the wall and I'm going to have trouble cleaning in the future. Another guy was like, I don't really have time to mess with something. I mean, it's one of those things like your service area, depending, like in my area, you may even want to give away something like this for free and no one's willing to take it. But that pickiness is relevant here because they're thinking the same thing that you should be thinking. That far part of the pool is right up against the wall, which by the way it was, and I don't know how they got the permit for that. So that's another story. And I think it's one of those things where you have to think about it and how do you get out of it? There are two ways that are fairly easy to use to get out of it. One of them would be letting the customer know that you looked at the pool and you realize you don't really have time right now in your schedule to do this. It's going to take, 4 visits and currently you're just a little overbooked, but you thank them for allowing you to look at it and maybe refer them to somebody. You should have some people you can refer to and they can take on that green pool if they want it. or you can just bid really high and the customer will get someone else. So if you normally look at the pool, it looks like, $700 green pool cleanup job, just go ahead and bid $1,200 and then call it a day, because they're probably not going to hire you for $1,200. And if they do, then maybe it's worth doing the green pool cleanup, but don't take them on as a client. But basically, just bid really high. And I've gotten these bids before when I call vendors that don't want to do work for me on my rentals. They'll give me this bid that's like really high, and I'll be like, okay, I know why you're giving me that bid. They don't want to do the work. So that's something that you can do, and that gets you out of it without really any kind of negative review or any kind of negative connotation, just by you being kind of an expensive pool company. And the Pool Guy Podcast Show has teamed up with UPA to bring you affordable, reliable liability insurance starting at just $64 a month. Get up to $2 million in coverage, and the members of my coaching group get an even lower rate. Protect your business and your peace of mind. Sign up with UPA today by clicking the link in the podcast description. And speaking of liability, I do have a green pool waiver, cleanup waiver. If you email me at david@swimmingpoollearning.com, I'll send you this green pool waiver over to you, and you can, of course, utilize it. It's in a Word format. You can change it and add things, take things out. But it's just a template, basically, so that you have some protection, because one of the things you don't know about the pool is what the surface looks like underneath the green water. You don't know if there's stains in there or cracks in the plaster. Could be anything in there. I had a pool one time. It wasn't a green to clean, but it was a pool that had the kids were swimming with batteries. They had D batteries. They were like throwing them in the pool and diving for them, which is fine. It's fun. You're diving for batteries. But of course, one thing you should know about batteries is that if they're underwater and you leave them in the pool after diving for them, they're 6 or 7 feet down. The water pressure starts to build, and those batteries are going to explode. And of course, there's acid in there, and it left this really like a 1 foot black and rusty stain that was just impossible to get rid of, by the way. So if you're doing a green pool cleanup and there's a stain like that at the bottom, you don't know it's there. You do the cleanup, the customer's like, hey, that stain wasn't there prior to the cleanup. Well, with the waiver, you have a way of getting out of that, and as a way to protect yourself from not being able to see anything on the bottom of the pool. So it's really important that you realize that since you can't see the bottom, you don't know the condition, and you don't know if the customer is going to hold you to anything that isn't your fault when you do the cleanup. Now that we got that out of the way, there's a few things, if you're going to go forward with this cleanup, that you should be really aware of, and that is, how is the equipment for this pool? How is the filter? Is it newer? Is it something that I can deal with? Will they replace the cartridges or the grids in there? If the sand filter, how's the sand in the filter? These are all factors as well. You can't necessarily just bid the pool, $700 without that in mind also, because if it's a D filter, you may have to clean that filter 3 times. If it's a cartridge filter, you'll have to add on for the cartridge replacement, especially if it's a quad type cartridge filter. So when you're doing the bid, you can say that $700 plus whatever the filter needs, and I'll inspect it the first day after I start treating the pool. I'll be able to let you know the state of the filter, and you may need new grids or cartridges, and here's the pricing for that. Let them know ahead of time all of this. I also mentioned in other podcasts that you should get a deposit. There are some laws in California that prevent you from getting like a 30% deposit, unfortunately. But other states, you can definitely get, 30, 40% down. But get some money up front. See if the customer is willing to pay you after the first day at least. That way, it's not really a deposit, but it's like a payment for the first day. So send them. You can break it up into portions for the billing. You can say, the first part of the green pool cleanup will be $250. Pay you that. That way, you get out of that kind of deposit thing. Give them a separate invoice for the first day, and now you haven't broken any California weird laws. Bill them for the rest of the green pool cleanup afterwards. But you want to get some money up front. But typically, if you've picked the right green pool client, they moved into the house, it turned green because no one was maintaining the pool, or it got away from them, they're probably going to pay you, versus the person that didn't pay their last pool guy and he left the pool's green, or the grass is knee high in the backyard. I would suspect that they may not be the best paying type of clients. If you do go ahead and take that on, definitely get some money, either charge them for the first day of the green pool cleanup and call that the first invoice, or get a deposit if you're in a different state besides California. You can do that as well, but get some kind of money to cover the green pool cleanup process itself. And then once you check the equipment out, make sure that it's going to be something suitable for you moving forward as a client, of them being a client of yours. And then pick the method of green pool cleanup that best suits your area or your expertise. I like the shock and awe method. This is basically bombing the pool out with so much chlorine that if an elephant fell in there, it would probably get a pretty severe rash. And if you do this method, the filter cleaning is really important, or starting with new filter cartridges or grids is important. But the shock and awe method, bringing the chlorine level to like 60 or 70 parts per million, highly effective in my opinion. Or you can do the flock method using aluminum sulfate. And the flock method basically is you put the pool on recirculate if you have a multi-port valve. If not, just turn on the pool for 20 minutes. Put the flocculant in, 10, 12, 14 pounds of it, whatever. And then turn the pool off for 2 days. And so the flock will actually cause all of the algae to clump up together and fall to the bottom of the pool. So you're going to have a cloudy pool with all the dead algae on the bottom. The reason why most people don't use that method in my area, we don't have filters with waste mode. You can, of course, get the Vac Daddy with the vacuum the waste adapter, or a PortaVac or a portable filtration system and vacuum it out the waste. But you're going to vacuum up 14 pounds of the aluminum sulfate plus maybe 10 more pounds of the dead algae in the pool. So you have to have the right setup for the flock method to work. You can't flock the pool and then vacuum into a cartridge filter that's at the equipment pad or a D filter. That wouldn't work effectively. There's just way too much stuff on the bottom. And that's why I like the shock and awe method, because you don't have to worry about the extra 14 pounds of flock in the pool. You just shock the pool and then vacuum the dead algae out the waste. So it's pretty effective in my area, but the flock method is also very effective. So pick your method and make sure that you're getting enough in the initial bid. This is where a lot of people make mistakes in green pool cleanups. They'll bid the pool too low. You bid 700, but then you're cleaning the filter 2 extra times. So you have 2 filter cleanings plus 2 more. You've essentially lost money on this job. So make sure you kind of know your levels of green pools. I have a green pool video. It's called the Ultimate Green Pool or something like that, where I talk about the different levels of green pool. Level 1, you could probably see the bottom pretty good. Level 2, you can maybe see the first step. Level 3, it's really green and you can't see anything. Level 4, there's like an inch of junk on the bottom already and it's got mosquitoes in there. And level 5 is like a full swamp level. And based on the level and how much time it takes and how much chemicals, how much effort should be your price point. So if it's a level 5, $700 may not cover it. You may have to charge $900. If it's a level 1, you can get away with charging a lot less. So kind of use your judgment on, and you'll know this by doing green pool cleanups and knowing, how much effort it takes and what you're actually bidding. And you'll get really good at doing this, and you probably won't make any mistakes if you've been doing this a long time. But you just have to make sure you bid correctly at the start, because going back to the customer and asking for more money is not good business practice, and they may balk at it, and you may lose that potential service account that you wanted to bring onto your pool route. So bid correctly at the beginning to avoid asking for more money later or eating that and losing all your profit. If you're looking for other podcasts, you can find those on my website, swimmingpoollearning.com. Click on the podcast icon on the banner, and there'll be a drop-down menu with over 1,900 podcasts there for you. And if you're interested in the coaching program, you can learn more at poolguycoaching.com. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Have a great rest of your week, and God bless. This episode is brought to you by HASA, providing products that deliver clean, healthy water for every aspect of everyday life. The bottom feeder battery-powered vacuum system, portable, powerful, and only weighs 12 pounds. And Skimmer. Get Skimmer, America's #1 pool service software. Podcast listeners can try Skimmer for free at getskimmer.com/poolguy.